That is such a huge flex.
Yeah.
Being able to become the validator and validate your own experiences. I mean, nobody else can validate it anywhere near as good as you. So being able to make that transition and be that person for yourself, that's a big flex. It's almost better to be their friend, right? Like, so you still want the confidentiality, but I provide that for my friends anyway. Like, if my friends do something to me and they don't want other people to know it, other people don't know about it. When leading, you are setting a result and you are leading someone to that space.
Yeah.
When managing, it's really hard to manage people because you don't actually have any control over them. Welcome to the Bold Shift Club. Let's make this shift happen.
Welcome everyone to the amazing podcast, The Bold Shift Club, and I'm joined today by the amazing Cara Jean Wilson, who I had the pleasure to meet a few months ago, and honestly, the things she does in leadership and the way she impacts people is just brilliant. I love her personality, I love her hair, and I'm really excited for this episode because I know that you guys are going to love this as well. So once again, I'm your host, Arcui Usoara, the founder of Icarus, a global brand strategy consultancy, and I'm the founder of this Shift show, and joining me today is Cara Jean.
I'm excited to be here. What a pleasure. I will take this moment to introduce myself. Yes?
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Cara Jean. I am an executive coach. I help people get incredible clarity because here's the thing that I know for true and certain is that if you want to know the best answers for your business, you need to talk to an expert. And you know who the best expert at your business is? It's you. So my special skill is helping you recognize that.
I love that, mainly because one of the things I try to do with my clients is that I never try to sell them something. I try to help them actualize, especially with branding. It's the same thing that we're not building something that's not yours, but rather we're helping you actualize something that's on the written. And that's the main thing, because at the end of the day, you're going to trust yourself. You're going to believe yourself. So why don't you discover who you are in the best of ways?
Yes, that's particularly important with branding. I mean, so I use it in leadership, but in branding, I think it stands out even more. We hear all the time that people have to know, like, and trust you, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't know, like, and trust yourself, how are they going to do that?
Exactly. Like, honestly, just start to an amazing start right away. Because that's the thing, like, if you are not confident in yourself, if you don't think that you're worth it, then why do you expect other people to do the same? If you're not going to eat your own dog food, then why do you expect others to do the same?
Yeah. No, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And it feels so complicated. Like I'll feel validated when other people like me, then I'll know I can like myself, but you have to do it the other way around. That's leadership. So that's why I do leadership, is because so much of leadership, you think, oh, I'm working with other people. But I'm going to tell you the hardest part of leadership is the same as the hardest part of being a parent. You got to handle your hot mess so that you can make space for somebody else.
Yeah, that is so true. And so I'd like to ask you, if we can go right into it, is how has your journey been in terms of trusting yourself and being confident in yourself? Were there times where you weren't, and how were you able to make that shift if it was?
Oh, yeah. Oh, many, 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 many times. I am incredibly lucky that I don't know, was trained early on the con of confidence. You know, most of the time it's just pretending to be confident until you feel it, right? It's sort of like a game. So I'm actually really good at that part, but that just because I am super confident and I absolutely know, like, and trust myself doesn't mean it's always true. If something goes wrong or sideways and the hormone soup gets spicy and suddenly I'm like, oh my God, why would anybody even listen to me? I'm such a failure. Nobody should talk to me. I don't even know why I exist. And then I have to be like, okay, chick, hold up. It was one bad thing.
Yeah.
You've had 100,000 bad things in your life, and here you still are. Okay, perspective. Take a breath. And usually that's how I handle it. That when I start to spiral out of control because life left all over my plans, which it loves to do, then there's a stoplight method, and it seems ridiculously simple because it is, but it works, right? So we do it with toddlers. It absolutely works with adults as well. So you literally stop, red light, stop, just be like, okay, I'm clearly spiraling. Okay. Then you take a big deep breath. Fun fact, it takes about 10 seconds for something to hit your brainstem, go all the way through your whole process, and then flush your body with the hormone soup, and then start again, right? So if you literally stop and count to 10, you'll be a different person because your hormone soup will be different.
Yes. There's this...
Stop and think, okay.
Yeah, there's this fun thing I heard from someone a few days ago, which is, this was a breathwork technique, and he was like, it's one sentence, and it's both going to help you relax, but it's also going to make you smile, which is, shut up. Because here's the fun thing, like, when you say the word shut up, or someone tells you this after saying all of these other things, you're going to smile and laugh. But when you actually shut up, you start to breathe from your nose, and you breathe clearly, and it allows you to just just modulate everything inside your body more easily and manage things more with ease, and you get the moment to just all right. So that was a very roller coaster journey, but let's get back to it. Yes. I love that. I have a friend who when she spirals out of control, she's named that voice Chad. So when she starts to spell, shut up, Chad. I do the same thing. I'm like, shut up, Arcui. I'm like, Arcui, what is wrong with you? I literally have a back and forth talk with myself. I'm like,
oh yeah. Yes. I have a mirror in my office for that reason. Like literally so I can look at myself and be like, hey, get it together.
Yeah. And it's nothing like the negative self-talk, but more like, dude, relax. But yeah. And I think personally for me as well, like sometimes I'm in the flow, and then sometimes when business doesn't go well, or you feel that business isn't going well, and then you see others around you that that they are not putting in as much effort. And I think a lot of people are too easy to judge about others' efforts because they don't know what they're doing. But you just see someone and you're like, if they're able to do it, why am I not able to do it? Am I not good enough? What have I been doing? Blah, 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 all of that stuff and everything. Oh, yeah. And then you go to sleep, you wake up the next day and you're like, all right, let's go back to work.
All right, let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Yes. So, what has been your biggest discovery as a leadership coach? What is in the common thread you have noticed with people? What is it that holds them back? And I know we got into it a bit in the start where we talked about Ascent conference, but what is it that you have noticed most common with people, the challenge that they face?
This is gonna sound silly, but humans love to complicate things.
Yes, they do.
Like not intentionally, I don't think. I mean, some of them maybe. But what I have noticed across the board is when people come to me, they're like, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And you're like, whoa, hey, hi. All that is noise. Welcome, hi. How are you doing? You okay? Okay, cool. So from here with the noise on the side, what do you think? And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, it's this thing. You're like, yeah, cool. That's pretty simple. Because it is. The human experience is simple, not easy, but simple, and we sure love to complicate it.
Wow, I'm honestly just blown away with the analogy and the way you just portrayed it, because it is that. It's just that sometimes we need the friend from sitcom, the ones we see in sitcoms and everything, where you're going chaotic and then there's this person who's like, relax, cool down and everything, like holds you like the way you just showed and everything. So yeah, I think the biggest thing I've seen with a lot of leaders personally is what you talked a bit about as well, is the validation. And sometimes it comes from mentors, and sometimes it comes from testimonies, and sometimes it comes from their peers. But I think internal validation and self-worth plays a huge role. And the way to look at that personally for me is to allow yourself to be validated, which is, yeah, obviously you're going to get validation. And if my client tells me that I'm doing an amazing job with their brand, I'm not going to be like, oh, shut up, I don't want to hear it from you and everything. Don't do that. But I think if I'm preparing myself to accept the compliments, the validation, by acknowledging that I deserve them and I am worth it, then it's easier to have that empower you, not make it judge you.
That is such a huge flex.
Yeah.
Being able to become the validator and validate your own experiences. I mean, nobody else can validate it anywhere near as good as you. So being able to make that transition and be that person for yourself, that's That's a big flex.
Absolutely. Like one of my exes really didn't like this part about me, but she also liked it about me that every time we were in, like, she would come to me with a problem or we were in a tricky space and everything, I'd simply just be like, I'm Arcui, I can take care of it. Yeah, like, and I've always had that, like, yes, I've like had that built into myself after I went through my own journey, that I'm that confident in what I can do. I'm like, yeah, I'm Arcui Usoara, I can take care of it.
Yes. Oh, so that is like the best leadership. So it's that right there. So it's great to be your own validator, but to go on your own path and be confident enough of what you can do.
Yeah.
Because then you can validate yourself. Then you do know you can fix it. And you've learned what you're great at, which means you can then also balance it with what other people are great at. So you're so clear on what you can do. And if it's not in your wheelhouse, you also know you can reach out to somebody.
Exactly. I'm so glad that you brought that in, because I know a lot of founders and entrepreneurs listen to our episodes, and I think the biggest thing with a lot of founders is the challenge of delegation, to allow others to let go of things and allow others to take over. And for me, It's been easy because I'm never touching anything with development. I'm never touching any line of code. And I tell this to all my friends, you want to come to me for branding, you want to come to me for freelancing, I'm your guy. Don't ask me to code. I'm going to come to you for coding. I'm like, hey man, how do I do this? How do I create hello world on the browser and everything? You need to be that guy for me. But I think allowing yourself to acknowledge that you're not good enough in certain things is not a thing that brings you down, but allows you to see that, okay, I don't have to be perfect with everything.
Yes. That's real humility. So they say humility isn't about thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. And I would go so far as to say humility is really about recognizing how amazing you are and how amazing other people are. And when you can see that, then you can live in your amazingness and leverage their amazingness. And boy, does the world get a whole lot easier then.
Absolutely. Like, that's the biggest reason for our success as well. Like, our clients know that we outsource people. They know that I'm the only person in our agency and everybody else is outsourced. But they know this very well as well, and the people we hire, that our clients get the best because we hire the best based upon their requirements. And we work with the best because they love to do what they are enjoying, and we're bringing them that work. And so everyone knows that, and nobody is feeling that they're being let down or they're little, but rather that I'm thriving here and you're thriving here, and together we're thriving here.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yes. So, what has been something, like, I think knowing you're a good leader plays a huge role, but also recognizing where you're meant to lead is crucial as well. And I talk a lot about this in terms of founder market fit. Where are you right for this market? A lot of times people end up finding themselves running businesses or being part of businesses where they're leading, but they're not satisfied. They have the great skills, but that is not the place for them. Have you ever faced something like this with any of your clients, and how have you helped them?
Oh, yes. Yeah. We call that the golden handcuffs.
Okay.
That is why I coach. I had beautiful golden handcuffs, but they turned my skin green. I needed out. You know, what I know about that situation is that it usually has to do with alignment. So for somehow or some way, even if you started in perfect alignment with a company, as you grow, as they grow, as people grow, our needs, our desires, the things that make us feel right and satisfied change.
Absolutely.
So it is not at all uncommon to be working your way through a company and get to a level where you're like, because you're not aligned with that anymore. There has been a shift. And that does not mean that the business is bad. It doesn't mean that you are bad, but it does mean that together it's not great.
I really love that, because I say this a lot to our clients as well, that we are dynamic beings. While our purpose is something that we discover more as we change and as we do things that fulfills us, our personalities constantly shift as we live through it. Like, we have had the emo phase, we have had the bossy phase, and I don't know what phase I'm in anymore. But yeah, everyone has that.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I think think of my nieces and they're, and they talk about how they were so cringe. And I was like, oh, you're going to have several more of those in your lifetime. Don't worry.
Yeah, you're like, I've been through that and I know what's going to happen here as well.
It comes again.
Yeah, that's fun. So, if we go a bit more in terms of the personal stuff, when did you realize that you're supposed to be a coach?
Oh, that's a great question. Probably about 6 months after I started being a coach.
I know, right? I've been there. I've been there.
So coaching kind of came into my world because the company I was working for really wanted coach style leadership. So where you disconnect entirely from the process and you are only focused on the result and you are helping them achieve that result. And it was really the first time I'd heard about coaching as a professional space, right? I knew it as a tool. I didn't realize it was its entirely separate thing. So I started coaching. I went through some trainings, got certified, and then was about 6 months after that was like, this is every part of leadership I love and none of the nonsense I don't. I think I should be a coach. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I had this similar journey in terms of finding my way to branding. I started out as a game designer, when I was very much passionate towards that in my school days. And one day I was like, I wanted to take part in a competition because young Arcui felt like trophies validated him for a few weeks. And so he was like, I want to take part in a competition. And so I signed up for one, but I couldn't go because I was still too young. So I had to go through my school. And so after I convinced them, they sent me there. And literally 30 minutes before we arrived, they tell me that, hey, Arcui, so we also, signed you up for a graphic design championship and you're supposed to create a poster for it. And we're like, literally, there's just 30 minutes left. I'm like, what the hell? And then I find out the topic. And then I find the topic around it, and it's Save Girl Child. So I was able to create a poster and I won the second prize. And that's when it hit me that, first of all, I don't care about the awards, but rather I want to create more impact and work for more companies where I can help them visualize and communicate things. So that led to design, that led to branding, and that led to brand strategy and so much more fun stuff. But I think sometimes it's like being in the weird place that helps you figure out, oh, this might be something for me.
Yeah. Well, and you were thrown into it. So I heard, right? They were like, here, you're doing this thing, and you're like, oh snap, this was kind of fun actually. I liked that.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't even remember what I won for the game design thing. I'm pretty sure I lost it or something. I didn't even get any ranks in that. Yeah. And we'll forget about the game.
So that goes back to another leadership flex. That is so powerful because you allowed yourself to do new things.
Yeah.
And new is unfamiliar, which can bring up all kinds of hormone soup.
Yes.
But the more you do unusual things, the more your brain is ready to start seeing the connections and things.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yes. And it kind of reminds me of something I was coaching someone a while ago, which is that everything you do in your life and journey in turn ends up influencing the other things you do down the road and helps you, adds to your fortes of being able to execute things with a different perspective. And so that is also a great trait for leadership as for me, in terms of being able to pick from your journey and add to what you're doing now.
Yeah, that's empowering. Yeah. That's incredible. Good job.
Thank you. So yeah, when someone comes to you, what is the biggest challenge they're facing when they're looking to, what is the mindset they're in when they're like, I might need a leadership coach, or I might need Cara's help?
So this is weird. I just recently sort of discovered this last week through several conversations with my clients that I attract tiny gods. Let me explain. So if you have ever found yourself apologizing for the fact that it's raining, or that the internet went down, or that this clouds came out, you're one of my people. You're a tiny god who is mad at themselves for not being able to control the weather. And unfortunately, my little tiny god, you're in human body and you don't have control of the weather. So it's time to take your energy back from trying to control the weather and start working on the things you can control so that you're not exhausted all the time.
I love that. I can seriously imagine like a tiny god illustration that I'll be putting when we animate, like when we produce this for a reel and everything. There'd be a tiny god, like a mini Zeus or something like that. Yes. And I can actually visualize, I can recollect moments where I felt the same things. Like there used to be a point where I started getting a lot more into, when I initially started out and I would meet amazing people, I had two big challenges. One was I started out too young. So I didn't just have to prove that I'm a professional because I had the skills, but I had to prove I am literally beyond what other people are doing because I was young and I was also going to be judged for that. Like I literally started freelancing when I was in 7th grade. So that was way too young. And I had to prove that I'm not skilled, but I'm someone who can do what it is. So I had to I had to put double the efforts. And that used to frustrate me a lot when like conferencing meetings wouldn't open. Like that time we had different tools and everything. And like my equipment wouldn't start on time and I'd be like, and everything. But nowadays I'm just like, if Zoom is restarting, it's restarting. I can't do anything about it. If my laptop wants to update, I can't do anything about it. If there's a power cut, I can't do anything about it. If I'm not feeling the ability to write quickly, I can't do anything about it. It's all right. I can wait it out. Let it do. Just let the person know, hey, this happened. I'm sorry. Could you wait for this? And afterwards, if that is something that's a deal breaker for them, I can try to make it up. But if not, that's it. But I don't hold myself accountable for things that are out of my control. I do my best to prepare for things, but I no longer hold it on to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love how you said that. So when people, especially in leadership, we talk about responsibility and accountability a lot. And you can hold someone else responsible because a responsibility is a task. But just like you have to take into account what you can do. What is your ability that day?
Yes.
And that if that is a hard space, let's talk because I can help. Yes.
Yeah. What would be certain things you could share with the audience that could help them realize that maybe they're having difficulty being a leader? I think a lot of times the signs are just not that obvious. And they, like as you said, like people end up blaming other people sometimes, or they're just not able to figure out and they get frustrated sometimes as well. So what would be signs that they might need help with being a better leader before someone else points that out, or your whole team leaves you and then you're left leading nobody?
Yes. Yeah, actually the signs, once you start to see them, they're ridiculously obvious. I mean, most red signs that are true, right? You're like, oh, bold signs. Oh no, that's a red sign. Yeah. Okay, found it. So some of the ones are if you are finding you're having the same conversations over and over and there doesn't seem to be getting any traction, that's a spot where you can work on your own leadership so that you are a better leader to somebody else. If you find that you're trying to control the weather, like literally if you are trying to control somebody else's response, you find yourself getting frustrated that they aren't doing the right thing, then you could use some leadership help because that we can get you tools to navigate that space. If you don't know, like, and trust yourself, if for any reason at any time you think you're not enough, that's a space for leadership development because you are enough. I mean, you're way more than enough, but we're starting today humble. So you're enough.
Those it's really beautiful what you shared in terms of, especially the first one. Like, so we don't have employees at our agency and we generally don't even have interns, but I've had 5 interns overall. And I remember the first intern I was working with, and I would get a bit frustrated because every time I would tell them this, they would be the same response in terms of the results and everything. And I obviously knew that I didn't want to be an annoying manager. But what I didn't understand back then was even though I don't want to be an annoying manager, I need to be someone who can manage well. And I've always had this philosophy that I will not tell you how to do things, I'll tell you what to do and I'll let you find that way. But sometimes you need to also be able to realize that it's you who needs to change the way of communication based on people. Because if you're managing people, it's not going to be a cookie cutter frame. Everybody has their own things and you need to be able to manage them in their different ways. And it's when I was able to do that where I realized this, because most people don't work with us more than 3 to 4 times. And we have a saying in my network with everybody who works with me that when I give you an opportunity, you'll be excited, especially if you're working with Icarus or me, you'll be excited. When we're doing the work, you're going to hate me because I'll try to come up with the most unique approach to do this thing and I'll make you think in different ways and everything. So we won't do iterations, but literally the first process will be the most complex way of thinking things. So that time you'll hate me. You'll be like, I don't want to work with Arcui ever again. But after you're done, you'll be really excited that you did. And most people don't work with us more than 2 to 3 times because we always work with different people and everything. But they always stay in touch and they always reach out and they are always either grateful or they're always recommending us. And they say this to them as well. You're going to hate working with him, but you're going to love that you work with him.
Yeah. So I love that. One of the things I heard, one of the pearls I heard in what you said just there, is when leading, you are setting a result and you are leading someone to that space.
Yeah.
When managing, it's really hard to manage people because you don't actually have any control over them.
Yes.
Ever. Like, there's just not enough duct tape on the planet if you don't have it.
Yes.
So we manage, one of the things that we really work on in leadership development is recognizing where you manage and where you lead. And you can manage groups of people, like herding cats. And you can manage processes, you can manage plants, products. But when it comes to people, it's all about leading them and really doing exactly what you just said, stretching their brain into a new space so they go, oh, okay, I get it now. Okay. Oh, yeah. Nope. All right. That's powerful. Well,
love that. I'm loving this conversation with you. So, could you tell us certain signs a manager should look out for when they are in a position of management and they are not able to get the results they're looking for? Especially right now, we live in a world where still a lot of managers have trouble managing a hybrid workflow because they always know how to manage people in physical spaces, but virtual and hybrid management is very difficult. Now, at our age, because we were always virtual, we knew how to do it, but not a lot of people know that. So, do you have any tips for how to manage people in any structure and also?
Yes. If you want to manage anyone in any, and this is going to sound ridiculously simple, my friends, because it really, really is. It really is this simple. If you want to be able to manage any situation, you have to learn to manage yourself.
I love that.
That's it.
Yeah.
You don't get to control the other people. You don't know how they'll respond, when they'll respond, none of that. So you manage yourself so that you can impact somebody else.
I think that goes a lot more because the moment you said that kind of reminded me about how I do my sales calls nowadays. I remember the first time I would get very flustered, but once I started to change my approach to it, now it's literally like as if I'm in a podcast interview and I'm just calmly responding to things. I'm in a date and it's just that, like, I don't get flustered. Like, I calmly respond, I calmly ask them stuff, I strategize with them as if they're my clients and everything, because the dynamic changes, right? Like, when you're in sales, you're trying to get them, and once you know you've got them, then you're like calm and everything. And I literally treat my clients, anybody, as if they're already my clients, not just with the approach of helping them, that I give them the same value as if they would be my clients, but I treat them like that.
And the stress it takes off of you. So if you think of them, they're already your client, then you're no longer trying to sell them your product or sell on the idea. If we put it in a manager's point of view, I'm no longer trying to sell you on the ideas of whatever the company is doing. Instead, we are working together to find out how to make that happen in the best way possible together. It's just a different it accomplishes the exact same thing, but it sure feels different.
Absolutely, it really does, and it's just so calming. Like, I realized it like a few days ago, and I was like, literally I zoned out for a microsecond. I was like, okay, so what podcast am I in again? And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not in a podcast, I'm in a sales call. Yeah, because literally this is how I sit, and we're on Zoom calls, and sometimes even if it's an audio call, I'm literally sitting like this because I like my equipment, I love this setup and everything. I was like, Wait, where am I exactly?
Wait, am I supposed to ask the question next? Hold on.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's so fun. So I would like to ask you, what are 3 signs of a great leader? If not 3, what are some signs of a great leader?
I think if you think of great leaders, you can immediately pick 1 or 2 people that jump into your brain. And when you think of them, so I'm going to answer this question with a question.
Yes.
When you think of them, do you think of their clothes and their hair and their shoes and their car? Or do you think about the way they make you feel?
Oh, I love that because that's literally the way I look at it. I like to look at what they make me feel because, and I know it's not just a direct answer, I'm going to be more like someone who's adding on to it. But yeah, for me, a leader is always been someone, like everybody has their own version of a great leader for me personally. So for me, a leader is someone who can calmly enter a room and command a conversation, but also allow for banter, is not offended by it, but rather encourages it, and leads that to inspire himself, but also others around him. Yeah.
So what I would say a really great leader is different for everybody because we're each so different, right? That's the stardust of our magic.
Yeah.
And so what I think of as a great leader may be different than what it is that you think of as a great leader. But the one thread that runs through all of them is a great leader makes you feel. They make you feel safe. They make you feel heard. They make you feel understood. And that may be all that they do, but when you have those things, when somebody looks at you, sees you, hears you, it makes you feel like you can be seen and heard and understood, and everything gets a little easier.
It really does, and I think it has a lot to do with the confidence in yourself as well, to be able to accept who you are. Like, I remember the whole concept of professionalism. Do this, dress up like this, do that. My professionalism is that I would like to have my dogs around here. I'm going to play, and I'm talking to you, I'll pet my dog over here or something like that. And I think it's being confident. Obviously, you need to be professional, but doesn't mean you need to look a certain way or be structured in a certain way.
Yeah. I think of it as like beach rules. Okay, so if you're out on a beach, you typically, unless it's a nude beach, you still have to wear clothes because there are other humans around. So you have to respect that other people's brains work different, and you want to be as generally brain accepting as possible. That's professionalism, like generally brain accepting. But that doesn't mean you have to conform. That doesn't mean that you have to follow this very strict path, because that's taking on somebody else's expectations. And the more of that you wear and the more of that you own, the heavier your life is and the harder it is to be yourself because you're buried under somebody else's expectations.
Absolutely. I really love that. So, Caro, when did you find yourself in the most challenging position as a leader? What was the most challenging thing for you as a leader?
Oh my gosh, there's so many good, juicy stories there. Probably one of the biggest growth moments was also probably one of the most humbling. So I was manager and up for the night and closing down my store. And one of the girls that was working with me, her sister was going into labor. Her sister was like 2 states away, but there were complications. So she was super hormone soupy, and it was crazy busy as we were getting ready to bring everything down for the night. And it was on the anniversary of my brother's suicide. So I was hormone soupy and she was hormone soupy, and we did not hear each other very well. So she was saying that she needed to leave so she could just drive to her sister and be there by the next day. She knows that there's nothing she could do, but she wanted to go and be there. She didn't say that, but it's what she wanted. And in my normal brain, my leader self would have heard that need and been able to respond to that. But since she didn't actually say it, I was not in my best leadership brain, and I did not hear it. So we just kind of pushed through. So she felt ignored. unheard and unseen, which is valid because normally she can rely on me to hear those things even if she doesn't say it. So it caused a big trust schism in our relationship. We had been each other's biggest advocates, and then after that night things were weird, and we had to have a sit-down conversation afterwards, and I had to say, you're absolutely right. I did not see or hear you correctly in a way that you have become accustomed to me being able to see and hear you. I need you to recognize that I am also a human being and fallible and make mistakes. So if you don't actually say the words, you cannot hold somebody else responsible for not hearing what you didn't say. That being said, I apologize that I have created this standard of hearing things that you don't say and not living up to that. So how can we go forward together on this? Can we recover from this space? Because I cannot promise that I'm always going to hear the things you don't say. I can't promise you that. Is that acceptable? And for her, it was a huge recognition that not only could I apologize, take complete ownership for my part of the situation, still holding her responsible for her part, and then asked her how she would like to take accountability, if she would like to take accountability, and could we use that to go forward. And it made our relationship so much stronger. But boy, howdy, were every single one of those conversations like, oh, those are not the conversations you want to have. I did not enjoy that part at all. But that's part of the reason why, they're often called challenging conversations or hard conversations, but in real life, they're crucial because when you can have that kind of honest conversation, it clears the air and you can be so much better on the other side of it. It's really awkward getting there.
Yeah, I've been there. Like a lot of my team members, sometimes I have to have a call with them, and I'm now used to knowing that my team members will have challenges with other team members, because I believe in a collaborative space. I feel like everyone should be able to communicate, and so that nobody has unnecessary workload and everybody knows what we're designing and creating for our clients. And I'm the kind of person who has fired clients because they tried to call someone from my team midnight, and I was like, yeah, I don't care about the money. I'm like firing you because for me, my team is very valuable and everything. But I've also been in spaces where I've had to fire team members, and I've also been in places where I need to help my team members realize that we are literally in the same space. And for me, change needs to be. Feel like people need to change. If you're the same person you were 5 years ago or 6 years ago, that means something's off. If you haven't changed, if you're literally the same person, and even if your mindset hasn't changed, then there's something off. And so, yeah, and I've been in spaces where I need to have a talk with them, not get frustrated or angry, but rather have that conversation and help them realize. And in those spaces, it's very hard because you start to even doubt yourself before the conversation starts that, are you the right person to lead? Are you supposed to be their boss? Were you wrong here? Will they take you seriously and everything? Because those are tricky things you go as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as a leader. So
yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I love you said you have to settle yourself first.
Yeah.
Whenever going into these crucial conversations, I mean, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say anytime that your hormone soup gets soupy, something happens and you feel a kind of way about it, that's normal, right? Like I don't know about you, but I don't have control of my hormones.
Oh, I don't either.
They do their thing. Yeah, I think a thought and then there's new hormone soup. I'm not a part of that part. It does it on its own. So if we stop trying to control our hormones and we just control our reaction to them, that makes everything that we do later easier. It's like what you just said, you managed yourself, you had those conversations, you had to address your own feelings of inaccuracy, of your own feelings of a challenge and frustration so that you could come across clearly to somebody else. That's brilliant. Yes.
Thank you. So, Cara, what would be the next thing for you after being a leadership coach and impacting so many people? I feel like we're constantly on a journey where we discover fun things from, and I personally know what it is, but I would love for you to be able to share it as well. Like for me, I don't even remember when the decision was made, but I know it's been around 2 years or something where, not 2 years, I think it's been nearly a year now, but I started telling people just that going forward in a few years, I'll close my agency so I can move completely into animal welfare, create something for dog rescuing, and use my insights of branding to reposition how taking care of dogs should be and how people should observe this and everything. And I didn't even realize when it started to become more and more real, like every pivot I've made so far, even subconsciously, it's getting me closer so I can manage both, be completely into animal welfare, but still be involved in the brand strategy space as a consultant. Because a lot of people say that if you're passionate towards something else, then maybe what you're doing is not true. But sometimes you just have 2-3 passions and you don't want to leave either of them. So,
Yes. I think multi-passionate is incredibly, incredibly powerful, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like having multiple pets. You're not mad because you have more love in your life. That's ridiculous. Okay, so I love talking about this. You already know this. My big dream, the reason that I do the executive coaching is because my end goal is to buy land and then build an eco-village around a STEAM university, so science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, and medicine. I think that ecology, sustainability, and the STEAM fields are the way for our entire globe to move forward in a happy, healthy kind of way, and I want to promote that. So that is my end goal, is to find probably at least 20 other crazy people who think this is a great idea and want to get some land and make this happen.
I love that, and honestly, very much for an advocate for eco villages and earth strips, and I really find them to be inspiring, and how easy it is to just reuse things and create something better. And I think it kind of even adds on to being a good leader as well, to be able to look at things from a different perspective, to maybe relocate things or reallocate them in a manner where they find other uses for their capabilities.
Yes. Yeah. And that is 100% why I went into leadership, executive leadership coaching, is because, there's any number of things that you can coach on, but I wanted to nerd out on this stuff, because if you're going to build a community, you have to really handle yourself so that you can create a space for an entire community to come together. And I was not always great at handling myself, so I have worked really, really, really hard for many, many, many decades now to do that.
That is really fun. And when do you realize as a coach that you have helped someone, that this person no longer requires me as much as they did initially, or that now they are a leader? Because I think obviously individually a person will obviously know that I'm different and everything, but when do you realize that this person is getting close to that this person no longer requires my assistance?
I love that question, because I just had that happen the other day. So I've been working with somebody for several years now, and one of their biggest struggles was they had a dichotomy in their life. They were super woo-woo on one hand and super corporate on the other. And the two should never come together was kind of their thought process. And so we've been working for years to integrate their life so that they could fully accept themselves all the way across on both spectrums, right? And because they had split their life up, anytime things started to go sideways, as life does, it would throw them for a loop. One small error could put them out for an entire month, just spiraled out of control. And they went on vacation with family, fully prepared for things to go completely sideways, did a bunch of prep work together on how do you handle these situations, how are you going to talk about it, how can you maintain your space and protect your needs, all of those conversations. Came back, everything on the trip went great, but immediately something went sideways in the business, and normally that would spiral them out of control, except this time they said, I just want to know what I want and how I want to go getting there. I was like, oh, what did you say that again? Say it again. That was so good. That was it. That's it. That's where you needed to be. We've got there. Now you're here. Can you imagine saying that 2 years ago? They're like, no, that would never cross my lips. So say it again. Say it again.
Yes. What it reminded me of, two things. One is, but I've been in similar places with my students, and before they complete their sentence, I know where they're going. So I know that, this person is ready, and I'm excited to tell them that they're ready and everything. But it's kind of like the end of an era moment in TV shows and all the cartoons and animes where you see the person and now you're like, you no longer need me, and then they hand over the position of leadership to them and everything, and they walk away, or they let them go on their own journey and everything. It's kind of like that, because as a coach or as someone in our fields, our aim is not to have someone be with us forever. If that is our aim, then we are not doing justice to our service and to the people joining us, but rather to help them ascend to the next step, ascend to where they're supposed to be after this, so that they can move on. If you want them to be with you, then you can't say that you want change constantly, because then you're not letting them change. So yeah.
Yes. For that, so I have year-long coaching packages that are designed to get you from point A to point B so that you can move on. What I have discovered is that I love when people don't need me regularly anymore, but we always all need somebody to bounce ideas off of, right? So that we can get our own head. So I have micro sessions. I do 15-minute clarity sessions, which is an entire coaching hour packed into 15 minutes. And so I offer those to my clients as a way to always have access without having to be with me like they were before.
It's so similar, because one thing is I make sure that none of my students for freelancing and business never come to me again for the same problem. And it's not that I won't help you, but rather that the way I help them is that they never come to me for the same problem again. So if they come to me for one particular challenge, then they never come to me for it again. But it's the other thing is that I connect with them as more than just a mentor. I never hold that on top of them that I'm your mentor, I'm your coach and everything. So there's always going to be a power balance, but rather I look at them as friends. I sometimes brainstorm with them about my stuff. And even in the midst of that, if they bring up something, I'm like, well, if you're open to it, then I suggest them what they can do. And then sometimes I send them a bill later on that, well, that's the price for it. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, that's the thing, right? Like to be able to have a different form of communication and making it easier for them to have separate sessions or less with lesser, like longer intervals and everything, those are signs of progress. Yes.
That's kind of my thing. Like all of my there's all these, other people's expectations around coaching. So you're not supposed to sell to friends. You're not supposed to be friends with your clients. But I am. I want all of my clients to succeed as though they were my best friend forever. I require that for us to be able to work well together. I need that kind of, my whole end goal is community. So I'm starting building community with the people I work with, because I know that they're great leaders and we're going to get them even better.
Yeah.
But I don't ever want them to rely on me.
Yes. Yeah.
I want you to rely on yourself. I will always be there. You pay me once and you're part of my group like that. Welcome to the group. This is where you live now. You're part of this. And I will always be there, but I want you to not need me.
Yes. Yeah. I'm that exactly like that. Like I was telling this to some of my friends and everything who later became my students now. I was telling them the same thing I just shared, that nobody comes to me ever again, that I don't hear from them for this thing again. And like, wait, are we not going to be friends? I'm like, no, we're always going to be friends and everything. It's just that I don't expect you to come to me for this again. But if you want, you can. And I really don't like it when there are some coaches who keep that you need to be very ethical, you need to be, where they're taking the concept of ethics and they're keep forcing it on relationships, on how you should be with your clients. Because I love the way you shared just now that you want to be their friend, you want to make that bond, because you can't expect someone to be able to share things with you even if you're guiding them, if they don't trust you enough. Yes. So I think that's very crucial.
And I think ethically, that makes it's almost better to be their friend, right? Like, so you still want the confidentiality, but I provide that for my friends anyway. Like, if my friends say something to me and they don't want other people to know it, other people don't know about it.
Yeah, it's not going to be tea time gossip.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't think, if you are unethical with your friends, I don't want to work with you.
I love that. You're like, you're not a good friend and hence you're not a good client.
just a big. Remember those red flags we were talking about? That one waving like right.
I had this workshop once, and it was literally titled, "Darling, you're not colorblind. That is a red flag." Yeah, it was on it was on coaching freelancers on how to see red flags in clients and everything. That they work with the people, because all my clients are my best friends. My clients love me. They wish me have a great weekend. They talk to me, they share things, and they discuss the challenges they're facing. And they never have the intent to, get a discount out of me. Like if they want a discount, they just ask it and all. But it's the trust and respect they have for me and the way I have facilitated that relationship with them. And so honestly, with an amazing conversation sadly coming to an end, but I'm really glad that I didn't just have you on this podcast, but I got to meet you and I've been able to connect with you and just have you in my circle. I'm really glad that you joined us, Cara, and to every listener out there who's listening to us, I hope you found what Cara is sharing to be inspiring and impactful for you and allows you to make a shift in your journey in one way or the other. And if you'd like, you can get in touch with Cara. We'll share the links and everything in the show notes and everything else. But you can literally just look up Cara Jean Wilson and you'll find the amazing lady with the best hair out there.
Arcui, this was amazing. Thank you so much. I so very value having you in my corner and I'm so pleased that you are in my life.
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you, Cara, for joining us. And this was the Bold Shift Club.